Alright guys, welcome to another episode of Slashing Up the Charts. And I'm recording this actually around midnight on Black Friday, so I hope you had a great Thanksgiving. I know I did. Great turkey meal, so I'm very happy to report to you here that a lot of movies open Wednesday this week, so I know what the box office is going to be. I've read a couple of reports today for what Wednesday grosses were, and they were no surprise. Hunger Games: Catching Fire is easily going to be the winner this weekend. Alright, yeah, I wear this shirt whenever there's an action movie. Unless it's like branded, like I have a Superman shirt, I have a Batman shirt. No, do I? Yeah, I do. And then I have, I can't remember what clothing now. And then I have you saw a Thor shirt, I also have an Iron Man shirt, so there's a couple of brands that I have for particularly action or superhero movies. This, and I have another Star Trek shirt, but you know all about that, of course, you've seen my channel before. This is more for action. The other one I just used for general sci-fi. In this case, yeah, Hunger Games easily going to dominate again this weekend. Next weekend, it's probably going to do the same, unless Frozen crops back up. Takes number one the way that Tangled did a few years ago. I think it was Harry Potter was open that weekend, and it was number one for 2 weeks, and then Tangled came back and won the box office weekend. But let's see. Hunger Games: Catching Fire scored a great $20 million today, or I shouldn't say today, sorry, Wednesday, a couple days ago now. And I have seen the film. I saw it last Sunday, actually. Thumbs up for me. I gave it a 10 out of 10. I loved it. Absolutely loved it. And I recently, actually yesterday, rewatched Hunger Games, or the first one. I think I'm going to go back and see Catching Fire again. It was that good. It was that good. So yeah, I was really excited for it, and it was totally on the level. So I'm very grateful for that. Let's see. So particularly when I do shows this weekend, it's the first for me. But from now on, when I do these shows, I'm going to still predict the 3-day weekend, but the 5-day weekend or a 6 or 4-day weekend, whatever the case is, we could even, no, we're never going to see a 7-day weekend. That's ridiculous. But yeah, I think the odds really to predict the 5-day weekend and the 3-day weekend, they usually won't match up. Well, I shouldn't say usually. Sometimes they just won't match up. So we'll see how this goes. Yeah, I think number one, yeah, Catching Fire. Number two, Disney Animated's new film, Frozen. I have to say, my interest in the film has kind of gone up since the reviews started to go and since I finally sat down and started to watch the trailers, which was conveniently, I guess, just before the reviews came up. And I said, well, I wonder if that's going to be any good. And then the reviews came in. They were very positive. Early reaction was great. So I said, well, we'll see how it goes. I don't know if I'm going to see it or not. It is playing in my local theater, but I don't know. It's kind of, I haven't seen Tangled yet all the way through. I have not seen Wreck-It Ralph. All the recent Disney animated films I have not seen. Well, majority of them, I should say. There was a couple I have seen that I didn't really like, but those were the kind of supposed to be direct to DVD. I don't know how they cropped in the theater things. And some of them were direct to DVD, so you know how it is. I don't know. It's a film I think that I could eventually watch, but I don't know. Disney's kind of hit and miss for me. I love, of course, their traditional 2D stuff from the classic days. Snow White, Cinderella, Pinocchio, all sorts of great stuff in there. You can go on pretty much for years discussing just how great and how revolutionary those animated films were originally from the supervision of Mr. Walt Disney. And then they kind of tramped off after Walt Disney's death in the late 60s. You know, then we got stuff like The Jungle Book, which was a little step down, still good. Sword in the Stone, for me, a big step down. And then you got like Aristocats, sorry. And that one was decent. I used to love that one as a kid. That was almost my favorite as a kid, but I don't know. I like jazz a lot because of that movie, I think. But I think a lot of it goes back to that. And then there was stuff like, Robin Hood, which was totally missable. I remember that one was never my favorite, and it still isn't. And there's different stuff. And then, of course, it was like the Renaissance period then for Disney. late 80s, 89 to be exact, was when Little Mermaid hit the scene, and that spiked up Disney big time. And then they followed it up with Sleeping Beauty, another instant classic, Aladdin, all sorts of great stuff. Lion King was great, and then by the end, I think it peaked really probably at Beauty and the Beast, and then it was a little downhill for Aladdin and Lion King, and then by Pocahontas, I think it just nosedived. Hunchback of Notre Dame was better, but we're not going to discuss the whole thing there. And then that's when kind of Pixar came in, and then Disney Pixar kind of became the thing, and yeah, and then Disney traditional animated films have kind of, since then been really spotty. Tangled from a couple of years ago, 2010 was, that one was a pretty big box office hit, especially internationally, but its budget was really high. I have not read the budget numbers for Frozen yet, but I'm pretty sure they're lower than what I read for Tangled. I think in this case that Frozen is probably going to get good numbers as well. Don't know if it's going to be the highest, particularly animated film of the year, because there was Monsters University, which scored very well. The Croods did great at the box office. Frozen, I think, will come at a third behind those, but that's better than Turbo and Freebird, stuff like that. So for the 3-day weekend, oh boy, these numbers are kind of getting hard to predict. I think it was 15 million on Wednesday, so I think we'll see a good jump up there also for Friday and for Saturday as well. I think it could get close to 45 million. Especially for these 3-day weekend stuff, I'm going to have to just round off. 45 million, I think, is going to be it for Frozen. Maybe it could jump up to 50, but that depends all on how much it goes up or down on Saturday. I think Thanksgiving and Wednesday totals are a good sign that it's gonna be probably not a distant second, but at least a good second, because I think Hunger Games is probably going to score more toward the $60 million range. But yeah, it'll actually, Frozen, I think, will represent well for Disney, and I think they will have eventually, maybe even by the end of the 5-day weekend, they could have a $100 million hit on their hands. Definitely by Christmas, it could come closer to 200 million, or at least a good 150 million. So I think that's a win-win for Disney there. Also opening this weekend, after Frozen, it's a lot of kind of late, not so great releases. There was Homeland, opened actually with a little over $1 million Wednesday, which is, for Statham, that's kind of a surprise. I think it should have gotten at least a good 3 or 4 million, but with Statham, I think his, Parker didn't do well. I can't even remember the film he did last year. Wasn't it The Bank Job? No, that wasn't it. Yeah, I could sit here all day. I couldn't think of it. It tells you how much I'd follow Statham. The only thing I've seen him in really is the first Transporter movie. I think I saw part of the second one, and The Expendables, which he's okay in. But I think, he's just going to have to carry himself on those Expendables movies, because his solo movies here, the numbers are dropping and dropping. Can't say, they haven't earned more than 20 million, really, but Homeland, I think, it's had a prime release date. This could get, for the weekend, for the 5-day weekend, I think it could go over the hill to about 12, 13 million, just based on Wednesday. But if Saturday and Friday grosses kind of go up just a little bit, I think we could have a final gross for the 3-day weekend at around 5 million. Not the best day for Jason Statham, so I'm going to go with about 7.5 for the 3, but hoping that for him at least. I mean, you got to have a little mercy for Statham. He can really do well with action movies, but I don't think this one's getting strong reviews. Not in a whole lot of theaters, 2,000 some, I think. Frozen, which has 3,500 plus. Hunger Games has more than 4,000. I mean, come on. You're not going to come close to... You're probably not even going to get more than a tenth of what Hunger Games is going to get in its second weekend. That's not good. Let's just leave it at that. Just not good. Alright, so again, 7.5 I think is what I'm going to land on there. Then we have Black Nativity. This is a film I had absolutely no idea what it was. I had no idea. Like, I thought it was literally like a comedy that made fun of the Bible and the whole nativity scene. I thought, well, that could work, but as like an SNL short, not as a feature film. And then I found out, oh, it's a musical about for aimed at the general black audience, kind of the way that Best Man Holiday was, and that took off. That film could get close to 75, 80 million by the end of its run, which is good numbers. That's exactly what the demographic high hopes are, to get something like that for a comedy that features kind of the black people, if you will. Not to be totally racist, but that's literally, I think, what a lot of people call it, the black market. That's a horrible joke, I know, but some people, yeah, they call it the black movie market. I didn't put movie in, sorry. But this is, the demographic. Black nativity might just be in that wheelhouse, but I don't think Wednesday numbers were less than 1 million. Not a great sign. Then again, it is only in a little over 2,000 theaters, I believe. Less than Homefront, but not a totally strong showing. So I think its numbers could be a little over 3 million for the weekend, but it would have to pick up a little bit. It might come closer actually to 5 million, maybe approach the Homefront numbers, but not going to be the greatest weekend here. Then again, they could really draw in an audience. Then again, they could totally flop. This is the hardest one to predict, I think, of the 4 that come out this weekend that I'm going to talk about. But I think I'm going to have to leave it at that. 3 million at least for the 3-day weekend. By the 5-day weekend, I think it could come closer to 6-7 million. But again, hard to predict. Then we have Old Boy. Only 500 theaters for this one. The reviews are actually of the 4, the second strongest, I think. At least third strongest, better than Homefront. But the remake of the I think it's Japanese film, or is it Chinese? I think it's Japanese. I've not seen the original, but I've heard nothing but praise. Kind of like Internal Affairs. Did I say internal or infernal? Whatever. The original thing for the Departed. But yeah, I think this film in its limited release, I think it scored 250,000 Wednesday, which is good showing. Actually, a good showing for kind of a almost hyped as wide release that ends up being a limited release. And with that, it could actually earn, I think, $1 million before Saturday, which for Old Boy I think would be a good sign. But then again, they have to think about expanding to wide theaters before like The Hobbit and like Mr. Banks, Saving Mr. Banks, and American Hustle hit the scene in a couple of weeks. So by next weekend, if Old Boy is not in 1,000 theaters, the film's not going to get more than like $7 million. And even then, it would be a little bit of a stretch. I think for the 3-day weekend, close to 1 million, maybe a little over 1 million. For the 5-day, closer to 2, at least 1.5. But again, that's only in 500 theaters, and it's kind of a hit and miss thing for Spike Lee, who of course early on, I mean, you look at Do the Right Thing, Malcolm X. This guy had just absolute success. I don't know what happened. His recent films, probably I shouldn't even name them. No, just not for me. So a guy I think who can definitely get his career back on track. Old Boy, maybe not the best thing, but the reviews are actually kind of decent. So we'll see how it does. I think I'll catch this one eventually, but along with the original as well. But not going to have a too strong a showing here the opening weekend. Okay, also expanding this weekend, we have The Book Thief. The film scored okay in limited release. It was in, 20, 30 theaters. It did about $2 million in 2 weeks. Not bad. For the weekend, I'm thinking 5-day weekend, it could reach close to 10 million, depending on how it does. For the 3-day, probably not any more than 5 million. So with that, oh boy, I think I'll say my piece on that one. But for limited release, being the judge on how it's going to do wide, could be okay. But we'll find out here. Okay, let's go down the top 10. Number 1, Easy. Hunger Games, Catching Fire. Number 2, Frozen. Number 3, Thor: The Dark World. Number 4, Best Man Holiday. Number 5, this is where we start to get a little dicey. Number 5, Homeland. Number 6, I think we're gonna find. This is getting into the tough stuff to predict now. Number 6, I think we're gonna find, in this case, Freebirds. Number 7, I think 7. Oh boy, yeah, this is where we really start to get really dicey. I think number 7 is gonna be The Book Thief. Number 8. Number 8 is probably going to be Delivery Man. Not a great showing last weekend. Number 9, Las Vegas. And number 10, oh boy, this is where we get into tough stuff, because we got Gravity, 12 Years a Slave, we've got Dallas Buyers Club, we've got also Black Nativity. Could be any one of those 4, but I think in this case, for one more weekend in the top 10, Gravity. And then after that, I think that's going to be it. And then I think just the top, 15 this weekend is going to be pretty good, just in total gross. Some great returns there. So yeah, I think that's how the weekend's going to go, and yeah, alright, right now, as I'm recording this, as I speak, I'm uploading the Thor: The Dark World review from a couple of weeks ago now. I've got a Catching Fire review, which I did, was close to 40 minutes long. I did babble on a little bit about that, but that's okay, because it was a great movie and I had a lot of good stuff to talk about. And that I'm probably going to try to upload very, very soon. Then I've got an Oscar video, Oscar at a Glance, that I'm in the process of editing, but I literally took about 2 hours to talk a lot about that stuff. And since then, some stuff has changed. A lot of my sites that I check have relisted stuff, taking people out, put people back in, it's craziness. So that one's going to be a little outdated. I've also got a review for Rush that's ready to upload. I just need to upload it. So yeah, I think Plagman Pictures, Plagman Rules, sorry, I used my old channel name. I think Plagman Rules is going to see a couple of new uploads this weekend. So check it out if you haven't yet. Good stuff, and as always, it's fun to slash up some charts. And until next, it'll be next Thursday, and we'll be back to regular 3-day weekends. But Out of the Furnace, I think, is the only one opening up wide next weekend. So next weekend's video, I think, will be shorter. I hope. So with that, adieu.